We're beginning Mishnah 4. This is the beginning of a section or time period known as the zugot, the pairs, because the leadership at this point in time is going to be pair instead of individuals. It's going to be pairs of people, and it's going to be for the next 5 generations. So let me just share the screen with you. We got it right here. So the Mishnah tells us number Daled 4. Yosei ben Yoezer ish Tzereda, Yosei ben Yoezer, who was from Tzereda, and Yosei ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim, he was from Jerusalem. Kiblu mehem, they received the tradition from them. Now, before we even go any further, who's them? Because the previous Mishnah was only Antigonus, so there's not so clear what it's referring to. Most commentaries understand it to mean that these two received the tradition from both Shimon HaTzadik, who was the remaining, the last of the Anshe Knesset Hagadol, of the men of the Great Assembly, and from Antigonus. And what happened was that Shimon HaTzadik was older, and they started studying from him. He died, and then they continued their learning from Antigonus. That's most opinions. There is one version that changes the them to a he, and they're from him, and therefore it's only from Antigonus. Yosei ben Yoezer ish Israel. One more important point about the zugot, the pairs, is that the two had different roles. They were partners in a sense in leadership, but one was what was known as the Nasi, the leader, which was really more it's political, but in Torah Judaism, politics and Torah don't separate. It's all one thing. So he was in his own right a great scholar. According to many, actually, Yosef ben Yoezer was a Kohen, and so he would be the one involved in all of the political and other aspects of that. And the second person was what we call the Av Bezdin, the head of the Sanhedrin, the head of the court. So he'd be involved in all the laws that had to be determined or interpreted, etc. So Yosei ben Yoezer. So now the way it's going to work is in the next number of Mishnahs, they'll be first quoting the pair, and then in each of the Mishnahs, one of the pairs will have a number of teachings from that individual. So this Mishnah, the rest of this Mishnah is going to be the teachings of Yosei ben Yoezer. Ish Tzereda Omer, he said, let your house be a meeting place for the sages. And you should cling to the dust of their feet. That's this translation, to cleave to it. And you shall thirstily drink their words. So we'll start about the meeting place idea. So first of all, according to the way we understand these Mishnahs, so remember that Shimon HaTzadik told us there were 3 pillars upon the world, which the world stands. There was Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Chasadim. So Torah is the learning of Torah and following the Torah. But here, this teaching about clinging to the sages is going to be really discussing about that one pillar. So different of the sages are going to be taking those pillars and talking about the different individual aspects of them. So this one's talking about Torah, that in order to be, you want to be able to be someone who studies Torah and understands Torah, you got to learn from people who know it. So let your house be a meeting place for sages is because you want your house, you want you to be in the place where there's going to be Torah study. So one idea is to literally make your house a center for Torah study. And how do you make your house? Well, one way is for you to study in your house. Obviously, that's a simple way to do it. But the other way is to get other people to study in your house. And certainly if you bring sages in, people who are knowledgeable, and while, on the one hand, you could say a sage, of course, you think about the most knowledgeable leading sages. Doesn't have to be, there's not that many of them that you're going to be able to get them to your house, but from your neighborhood, your community, try to get the people who are the leading scholars to be the ones who they should know that your house is the place where they can come to teach, to learn, etc. And this way, people will come to your house for the purpose of studying. And it'll just change the whole atmosphere of your household. Your whole household will be one which will be of study and learning. And in fact, the Bartanura points out an interesting idea that there's, he gives the example of someone goes to a perfume shop. So if you go into a perfume store or a spice store, whatever, something where there's something that's sweet smelling, and you just walk into the store. When you leave the store, you go someplace else, the smell is still with you, right? You pick up the scent. So he says, just by hanging out with the sages, even if you yourself may not understand everything they're saying, but you're going to pick up the feeling, the atmosphere of what they are, and it'll still stay with you, and therefore you will gain from just being in their presence. Um, the Seforno actually has a slightly different, I shouldn't say slightly, but really a different reading, whereas that instead of saying your house should be a place for sages, he says you should make your house in the place of sages, meaning basically hang out in the Beit Medrash, in the study hall, hang out in the shul, hang out in the place where Torah study is taking place. So you make that your residence, make that the place where you're living, as in spending most of your time. So again, the idea being a person should immerse themselves and surround themselves with those who are knowledgeable and those who are studying, and you are therefore in an atmosphere of learning, which will make you that much easier for you to study, because you'll be in that atmosphere. Another important idea about making your house a place is also that even if, besides the idea of having sages come, but you should make your place a house a place for learning, is that every person should have a fixed time, ideally, when you study, as well as a fixed location that this is my place in your house. You have a study, you have a table, your dining room table, your kitchen table, whatever it is. This is the place where you do your Torah study, and it becomes what we call a makom kavua, a set place. Ideally, to try to set times for when you do this. This is the time that I do it every day, whether it's in the evening, the morning, the middle of the day, whatever it might be. 12:15, right? 12:15 is my set time that I'm going to come online and listen to the class, right? That's part of setting a time for learning. A similar way, wherever you reside, have a fixed place for that as well. Obviously, we're not all in a position to have sages coming to our house and making it to that, although we do hear stories of different people who in past years and of previous generations who would, especially when you had in many cities, you have people coming from Israel or other communities who are coming to visit. Whose house are they going to be staying at? Right? So if you can become that person who's that, what we call an askan, that person who's doing things and making things happen, and people know, oh, you come to your house as the place where, if you're coming to town, if you're coming to Ottawa, where are you going to stay? Oh, you're going to stay at so-and-so's house, right? You want to become that person, and that way people will come to you, the sages will come to you. But we can't all do that. So then that's why we go to them. If they can't come to us, we go to them. Another interesting take from Rabbi Chaim Voloshin is that you can develop a library. Now this, he wrote this in the 1800s, so this is not what the Mishnah is actually saying, but a derivative. If the idea is to create a place of learning, if that's the goal, and the place is to have teachers, well, we can't all have physical teachers. The books can be our teachers. Develop a library of svarim, of books on Torah interpretation and Torah commentary, and that will also be in our house, that will become the place of study. We'll hold it there for today. Have a great day, everyone.